Hello everyone. Last class we were discussing about caste system in Indian society. So there we discussed about the meaning of caste system. Then we discussed about the features of caste system according to G.S. Ghurre. Next, in this particular class we are going to discuss about changes in caste system. How the caste system have been changed. So here we are going to discuss in two different times. That is, one is caste system in pre-independence period, that is during the British period. Then second part we are going to discuss about post-independence period, after the independence. So what are the changes have been taken place in the caste system? So when the Britishers came to Indian society, we could find they have influenced on the Indian society in a very large way. So where we can see that they have influenced social, political, economic, in all the fields we can see their influences there. So in that we could find even on the caste system they have influenced. So let us discuss some of the points here. So first point is that caste in pre-independence period. During the British period, first point is introduction of universalistic legal system. They brought the legal system, new way of laws to the Indian society. That is, according to the law, all the people are equal. So there is no discrimination between the people. They may belong to any class, any religion, any caste. There is no discrimination between the people. According to the law, here we could find that everyone are equal. That is the law which they brought here. So this brought the justice to the people. So some of the legislations which we can see during the British period. That is, first one here, the Caste Disabilities Removal Act of 1850. According to this act, so there they says that caste disabilities, what and all disabilities was there in the caste, some of the disabilities which we can see, they tried to remove that from the caste system. And also the system of untouchability which they used to follow, where we could find that they had the belief that, so some group of the people they are pure one and some are the impure ones. So that is, there is a difference between these two groups. So they are called as the superior ones and these are called the inferior ones. And to remove this disability between these people, so where we can say in the caste system, so this particular act has been introduced in the society. So according to this act, they try to remove the practice of untouchability in the society. And the second one here, the Hindu Widow Remarriage Act 1856. So widows were not allowed to remarry. So if they lose their husband in a very young age, which we could find that there was a belief that widow means they had to be inside the four walls. They were not allowed to go to any programs, or it may be any especially religious rituals, they were not allowed to attend those things. So it was where we could find that if they lose the husband in a very young age, they were not allowed to remarry. They had to stay in the same way, where we can see some of the religious restrictions were there, some of the practices were there, which they had to follow those things. So because of that we can say when the Britishers came to Indian society, they introduced this particular act, and according to this act here we can see Hindu widows were allowed to remarry. So they were permitted to remarry. So that was one of the act which we can see it was introduced in 1856. Then the third one, the Special Marriage Act of 1872. So Special Marriage Act means it is where they permitted the people to get married to the different religions. That is, inter-religious groups, inter-caste marriages were accepted in the society. According to this particular law, it says that special marriages means that is inter-religious and inter-caste marriages are accepted in the society. So in the traditional society which we can see, so strictly they was following the endogamous type of marriage. So they had to get married within their own group, within their own religion, within their own caste. Inter-religious, inter-caste marriages was prohibited. So when the Britishers came, they tried to change the system in the society because of the problems which the people was facing. They tried to change the problems which the people was facing in the society. In that, this was one of the act which they introduced. They permitted for the special marriages in the society, and according to this particular act, a people can get married to the different religious groups. Inter-religious, inter-caste marriages was accepted in the society. Then some of the other legislations which we could find. In 1858, we could find that schools specially, they had to open to all. There is no discrimination between the people. They may belong to any class, any caste. They should not make any discrimination between the people. Any child can go to the school and get the education. That was introduced in 1858. Then after that, and in 1923, we could find that they made the restriction there. If they discriminate between the children, if they are not permitting the child to get admission in the schools, then aided schools where we can see, so they used to get the grants from the government. That was prohibited for them. Grants was not given to the schools. Here we can see if they discriminate between the people and if they are not giving the admission to the children in the schools. So in those schools, that is aided schools especially, we can see that they are not allowed to take the grants from the government. They were not giving the grants for the aided schools. That was one of the act which we can see. In 1925, Madras Legislative Council, it gave the permission for the people, especially who were kept out of the group. So for them, they gave the permission to go to the public places, public offices, to take the water from the public wells, public taps, so to move on freely in the public roads. This permission was given to the people who were degraded in the, especially in the places which we can see. In some of the places this was there, where they were the degraded people should not go to the public places. But here we can see in 1925, Madras Legislative Council, it gave the permission to go to all these public places. That was one of the major changes which the laws brought to the society. So here we can see that British government here, it brought the major changes through the legislative measures. So it introduced some of the legislative measures here. Through this, some of the changes have taken place in the caste system in the Indian society. Second point, impact of English education. So here, Western education, the main impact was that the main principle of this was scientific, secular and universal principles was in the Western education. So here we can see that it brought changes. This English education which they introduced in the Indian society, it brought the changes, the major changes it brought in the Indian society, because this was the open system. The people who were able to pay and get the education, they could go to the school and they could get the education. So it was very easy for the people here. It is not that before we can say only the higher caste people, they had to go to the Gurukulas and they had to study. There is no option for them. For the lower caste people, there is no option. So they were not allowed to go to the schools. So here when the Britishers came, when they introduced the English system here, the formal education was introduced. So in this system, it was very easy for all the castes. There is no discrimination between any caste, any class. The people, if they are able to pay and if they can go to the school, then it was very easy for them. They could go and get the admission in the school and get education. So this was open for them. Then the people who could get the education here, we can see that automatically they were inspired by the education, and this inspiration which they had got from the education, all these things, it brought changes in their lifestyle. That is the changes in the new economy. So where we can see that the opportunities were open to even to the lower strata people. The people from the lower group, the degraded people who were there in the society, even for them which we can see economic opportunities were there. They could go to the any work which we can see, the work was open to all. and many of them which we can see, the people who got education even from the lower caste or from the lower strata group, they could go to the higher professionals and they got the higher occupation in the society and they started working in the higher occupations. That is the changes which brought from the English system, that is English education, which brought the changes in the Indian society. Because they introduced the formal education, then scientific education was introduced from them. So because of this, there is no discrimination between the people to go to the schools. Any person, they can go to the school, there is no discrimination between the class, there is no discrimination between the caste. Any person can go to the school and get the education. This opportunity was given by the British government. Then the next point we will move on to, third one, impact of social reform movements. So social reform movements have been brought major changes in the caste system. And many reformers here we can see that they wanted to bring the casteless society as well as the classless society. They wanted to just abolish the systems which we had, blindly how the people was believing the caste system. They were just wanted to abolish these things and bring equality in the society. This was the idea of the reformers. And some of the reformers which we can see here, so they have some of the social reform movements which we can see was made in the society. That is first one, the Brahma Samaj. So the Brahma Samaj was introduced by Rajaram Mohan Roy. He is the person who founded this particular Samaj. So his main idea was that to give education to the women, as well as to abolish the sati system in the society. So what is sati system? Sati system means when husband dies, wife has to jump into the funeral pyre of the husband and she has to die. This was the system because widows, when we say here, it was very difficult for them to live in the society because the norms was like that. So because of that, forcibly or she herself, she is to jump into the funeral pyre of the husband. So this was the system which we can see. They called this as a sati system. So Rajaram Mohan Roy, he fought for that, to abolish this particular system in the society and to educate the women. And if the women get education, then she can go against all these things, then automatically she will get the status in the society. That was the idea which we can find. Then next one, Prarthana Samaj. So the founder of Prarthana Samaj is Atmaram Panduranga. So is the founder of Prarthana Samaj. So he also wanted to change the system what we had, especially in the caste system. We can see that blindly people, we can see that they used to believe all these things. Whatever the rituals were there, all these things which we can see, they used to blindly believe. So his main idea was that educate the people. If they get education, then we can see that the mindset of the people will change. That was an idea. The next one, the Arya Samaj. The founder of Arya Samaj is Swami Dayananda Saraswati. So here we can see Swami Dayananda Saraswati, he tried to change some of the things, especially we can see that abolition of untouchability. So where we can see untouchability was practiced in the traditional society. So try to change this particular system. So bring the changes, bring equality in the society. There is no discrimination between the higher and the lower caste. Everyone are equal according to all the people here we can see that they are equal. They should be treated equal in the society. So his main intention was that abolish untouchability in the society. Then here we can see the next one is the Ramakrishna Mission. So it was founded by Swami Vivekananda. So his main idea was that he studied about all the religions which we can see, and his intention was in a different way where he worked for the development of the people in the society, that we can find. And many more reform movements which we can see here, Anabescence, Theosophical Society. So all these reforms movements which we have in the society, they fought for the changes in the caste system. where we had the discrimination between the higher as well as the lower caste, where we can see one group of the people were called as a degraded people, and they were kept away from the group, and they were looked very down in the society, and because of that majority of the social reformers which we can see, they fought for that, to bring the equality in the society. So this took place during the British period, and they tried to bring changes, and it was possible from them to bring the changes in the society, to bring some of the and also we can see that they have been affected on the legislation, and some of the laws have been implemented because of them, because of the social reformers. Some of the laws have been implemented to change the system in the society. So this we could find in the British period, where the because of the impact of the education, many people got education, and they became the reformers, and they started fighting against the changes which they wanted in the society, which we had the discrimination, all these things. So they fought for that. That we can see in this particular point. Fourth point, impact of new social formation. So here we can see new economic system, it brought changes in the population in the Indian society, because it introduced the new occupations there, where we can see that the groups, it made the groups. So the population started increasing, and changes in the society which we can see. So this changes, it made the groups in the society, that is capitals, tenants, merchants, teachers, doctors, lawyers. So like this we can see they themselves, they made the groups, and these groups were influenced there, and they started making the organizations in the society. They introduced the new organizations there. For example, we can see All India Trade Union Congress, then All India Kisan Sabha. So like this, they started making the organization depends on the groups which they made. So here we could find that automatically caste system started declining here, where the people started giving more interest towards their own groups. That is, depends on the groups which they are working. Now if they are the teachers they made the groups. So there is no discrimination. The teachers may be from any group here, any caste. They may come from the higher, lower, middle, any caste here. There is no discrimination. They made their own organization. Lawyers made their own organization. Then capitals, then merchants, tenants. Like this we can see that. So the changes brought in the groups which we can see, they made their organizations, and through this organizations, for their problems or for their benefits, they started fighting in the society. So that here what happened, the caste system started declining here. They gave major importance to their own groups. So where they started giving more importance to their own group, and caste consciousness started decreasing here. So this changes we could see in the Indian society. So this brought the new changes in the society which we can find. That is, the whole structure of the society started changing, because in the past we can see that depends on their caste, they used to occupy the occupations. But after that, the changes in the society, because of the Britishers, they introduced the education here. Then after that we can see they gave opportunities for the people to work in any fields, depends on their ability, depends on their interest, and people started occupying the new occupations depend on their ability. So economic changes brought to the society, and this economic change brought the changes in the structure of the society. Next one, impact of freedom struggle. That is one of the major changes which brought in the society. So that influenced, the freedom struggle influenced on the Indian society, where we can see a people may belong to any caste or any class. The main intention was that to get a freedom from the Britishers. That is where we can see that they introduced the national movement in the society. When they introduce the national movement, the person may belong to any caste. They may be in any caste, it may be higher or lower. There is no discrimination. Everyone came together and they participated in the national movement, and they struggled to get the freedom. And this freedom movement which we had in the Indian society, so it brought the major changes in the caste system. So where we could find that everyone came together and they started fighting against the Britishers. So here everyone joined their hands here. So because of that, automatically people from the higher, lower, everyone came together. So there is no caste consciousness. So there is no differences between the higher and the lower caste. Everyone are together, they are fighting for the freedom. So freedom struggle which we had in the Indian society, this brought the major changes in the caste system also. Sixth point, impact of industrialization and urbanization. When the Britishers came to the Indian society, they introduced the new systems in the society. In that, industries is also one of that. They introduced the industries to the Indian society. So when they introduced the industries to the Indian society, many people started getting occupations here, and they started attracting to the this industries. So here which we can see the occupational mobility in the people, that is people started moving from one place to another place, especially from the villages they started moving to the urban areas. So in the urban areas population started increasing, and in the industries there is no discrimination between the people. They may belong to any caste, any religion. They started occupying, depends on the person's ability, depends on the person's interest. They started getting occupation in the industries. So many people who used to stay in the villages from the ancestral time, they started moving to the urban areas and they started occupying the occupations here in the industries. Then with that, people started moving from one place to another place. That is where we can see that new transport facility was introduced to the society. That is, they started moving in the trains, they started moving in the buses. So we could find that there is crowded people in the all these places. In the bus we can see, as well as in the train, it was majority of the people used to move. So in search of occupation. So there is no discrimination between them. They had to move together. They had to travel together. So it brought the changes in the caste system there, where they started moving from one place to another place using the trains as well as the buses. And with that, we can see the changes in the food habits also. So where they had the consciousness before, the food was prohibited. So here where we can see that one caste people has to accept the food from only from the hands of that particular caste people. So which food they had to cook and what type of food they had to eat and from whom they had to accept the food, there was a restriction for this. But once we could find the changes in the society, that is where we can see because of the industrialization, people started changing here. Their food habits started changing and they could accept the food because hotels, all these things was introduced, and people here in the urban areas, when they came to urban areas, they had to, in search of food, they had to move to any hotels. So they started going to the hotels. So in hotels we can see there is no discrimination. People started having food from any person, any hands. So this was the changes in the caste system. Then with all these things which we can see in urban areas especially, population started increasing in the urban areas. And what we had the caste consciousness before, this started decreasing in the urban areas. People, in spite of belonging to any caste here, they started accepting each other and they started staying with, they had their own residence in the urban areas. They started staying together and they started moving together for any type of work it may be or education it may be. So the changes which we can find. So comparing to the villages as well as the urban areas, in urban areas, in the caste system there is a major changes. So this we can see it was because of industries as well as the urbanization. So when the industries were introduced in the urban areas, people moved to the urban areas and this changes where the people started moving and this brought the changes in the urban areas. So, in the urban people, the caste consciousness started decreasing and people started accepting each other and they started moving each other with all what functions they had to do here, they started moving together. This is one of the major changes which brought during the British period, because Britishers introduced the industries to the Indian society and this brought the major changes in the urban areas where the caste consciousness started decreasing in the people.